Seeking therapy in the Black and Brown community is a subject that has been well overlooked for well too long. Seeking therapy in the Black and Brown community has been a taboo simply because a lot of us are told when we're growing up that what happens in this house stays in this house. And basically that means that whatever goes on in this household does not leave this household. So be it good or bad, that is not something that you take outside of this household. This is something that stays here. Being someone who have come from a family who has had many ups and downs, I definitely understand that there are certain things that you should seek therapy for. A lot of us do not have the funds or the wherewithal to know how to seek therapy or where to seek therapy or to be able to afford therapy. This speech aims to share the main causes and factors for individuals to shy away from receiving and getting treatment for their mental illnesses or for their mental health issues or crisis. Hopefully, in turn, we can begin to dismantle these negative ideas to combat the rates of untreated mental illness. Let me tell you what mental health stigma is. Mental health stigma is the Black and Brown is mental health stigma within the Black and Brown communities is when we share similar mental health issues as the rest of the population with even more stressors due to racism, economic disparities, and prejudice. The Black and Brown communities shy away from psychotherapy as a potential solution to problems like depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, marriage problems, and so many more. It is troublesome why many Black people are reluctant to seek psychological solutions to various emotional hurdles. A lot of us will internalize a lot of the things that we are going through simply because we feel like it will help us to not talk about the things that are actually happening in our lives. If we don't talk about it, it doesn't happen. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't exist. So we internalize a lot of the things that we're going through. When we trace the root of mental health problems among Black individuals back to slavery, it was believed that slaves were not modern enough to create discouragement, tensions, or other psychological wellness problems. So a lot of us were enslaved and we had to deal with being enslaved in our own personal way. Whereas a lot of those who were not enslaved were able to seek help, seek therapy on an outer level of what they were experiencing. From the memorable misguided judgments, we figured out how to disregard psychological instability or call it different terms, similar to stress and being drained. Crawford said, such nuanced depictions of sadness and other dysfunctional behaviors that the Black and Brown communities embraced and gave from age to age prompted thinking little of the impacts of effectiveness of psychological well-being conditions. Likewise, it fortified convictions that a mental issue is an individual shortcoming, which is not the case. A lot of us feel like having a mental issue doesn't exist. A lot of us feel like, okay, so you had something bad happen in your life, get over it, work through it, move on. That's it. Where a lot of others feel like, okay, yeah, I had this to happen. I know this is something that I need to speak about. This is something that I need to get help with so that I can move past this in a psychological manner so that it's a better fit for myself. Here are some of the issues that make the Black and Brown community reluctant to seek therapy. One stigma and judgment. In the white community, like in Los Angeles and New York, almost everyone has a therapist. Yet even among the wealthy, many African Americans still hold the beliefs of stigma about mental illness. There are a lot of Black and brown people who feel as though even though they have money, they do not have to seek therapy because there isn't anything that someone can talk them through that they cannot talk themselves through. So a lot of us will not seek therapy. Studies show that among the Black community who were already consumers of mental health, over a third felt that the depression and anxiety felt would be considered crazy or out of the ordinary, or wouldn't be a part of our social circles. We wouldn't fit into our social circles if we mentioned having to be able to seek therapy, or feel as though if there's something not quite right up there. A therapist is considered an outsider when someone wants to talk to someone. And a lot of people do not trust outsiders. A lot of people in the Black and brown communities do not trust outsiders because we feel as though if they're not going to understand where we're coming from or what point we're trying to get across. So we decide not to speak about things because therapy seems to be out of the question. A lot of us suffer from anxiety, and anxiety is a buildup of mental health treatment, or is a buildup of lack of mental health treatment, and is linked to what people expect from therapy itself. Therapy is viewed as a luxury to some people, whereas to others it is viewed as a taboo. Mental health treatment can be expensive and effective, but when given the correct opportunity, it can be the best decision that one can make for themselves. In the Black and brown community, there is negative stigmas surrounding mental health. Instead of seeking professional help for conditions such as depression and anxiety, many in the community resort to self-medication, which could be drugs or opioids or alcohol or sex or many other things. You wouldn't believe some of the things that I found that people turn to when fighting a mental illness. There are different isolations and attempts to solve problems when trying to work through things on your own, but none of them are as effective as seeking a professional to help you to work through each and every aspect of the issues that you are currently experiencing. The more we understand differences that make us distinct, the more we will realize there is no shame in having a mental illness, regardless of culture or background. I say that to say this. If you feel that you have been around someone who is being affected by a mental illness, just ask questions. See how people are doing. Check on your people and see how things are with them, because you never know. Someone can be struggling with something internally and you would never know unless you ask. Thank you.